guys? It's your favorite gold miner, prospector, and geologist, Jeff Williams. And today I thought we'd do something different in the drift mine today. Now I had a lot of you guys write in and say, Jeff, we want to know what it's like to work down there for a full day. Now you guys know we're trying to get patrons down here into the drift mine so they can work a full day and keep all the gold they can find. You imagine that? Ooh, that's a lot of gold. And yeah, you're gonna get wet. But until we get the logistics figured out, I figured I'd give you a virtual tour of what it's like working down here for a full day. Maybe you just might change your mind if you want to come down here, because I tell you what, gold mining will test your mettle every time. And that way, when we figure out how to get patrons down here, you could sign up to come down too. Yeah, I know, enough jaw-jacking, Jeff. Show us what a full day looks like. Man, that's a tough crowd. All right, now the first thing that we normally do when we come out to the drift mine is we like to fire up the generators and get the pumps working and all that different stuff. Now, I can't show you that right now because it's all up on the surface, and there's a lot of buildings up there, and if I were to show you those buildings, you know exactly where this mine is at. But I always tell people, if you really want to find this mine, just go onto Google Earth and look in the vicinity of where I told you what we were looking for, wink wink, and look for a big pile of white mine dump. You can't miss it, but I'm not going to tell you where it's at. And if you do come out and see me, at least let me know you're not a claim jumper, okay? Because I don't have to take a shot at you. Now right now the wife's up in the hoist house and she's got a little checklist that she goes through to make sure that everything's right. And I come down here and I do a visual inspection, and then I have a little checklist that I go through too before we start firing everything up. I know you're thinking, Jeff, I thought you just went down there and started digging out gold. No, it's a long list of stuff we have to do first to make sure that everything's working right so that everybody's safe and nobody gets hurt. One of the things that I normally do that you don't see on camera, I like to grease up the rails for the skip bucket. And as you can see, they're pretty dry right now. They need another coating of grease on them. I always check the sump to see if there's any worms down there that might have come up, and then I got to go down there and clean the sump. Now a lot of you guys said, Jeff, why don't you just put a tarp in the bottom of the sump, and that way when it comes time to cleaning, all you got to do is hoist it up. Well, that sounds good on paper, but I'm going to tell you something right now, because when you get about 200 pounds of material sitting in there, pulling up a tarp isn't as easy as it sounds, and a lot of times they have a tendency to rip. So what we do is we like to run our little skip bucket down in there and we'll clean it out. And I got to do that today anyway. I'm going to go ahead and grease up the skip bucket rails. Then I got to go through and I got to grease up the rails for the mine cart. And then we got to get to the working face, and I'm going to check to see if anything's loose that needs to be so-called barred down, if you will, kind of like in a hard rock mine. And then we're going to advance forward. And once we get to 5 feet, we can lay another segment of track. See how that works? Now I know a lot of this sounds boring to you guys out there, but this is what it really takes if you're going to operate any kind of a mine, whether it's a drift mine or a hard rock mine. And if we got any time today, we're going to metal detect for gold nuggets before we lay the track down, just to make sure there's nothing there where those ties are going to sit. I know, right? Not old lollipops and rainbows down here, is it? That's right. People think, oh, he just goes down there and pulls out a bucket of gold and then it goes back up. Nope, it's a lot of work, my brother. Now for you guys out there that have been to the proctologist, you know what I'm about to do, huh? That's right, I'm going to grease it up real good like. Oh yeah. Ooh, that feels good. Yeah, baby. One hand or two, huh? There's a guy out there on Lost World Crew. You know who you are, Son of Jim. We like watching his videos, and he sees these rails all the time, and he wanted to know how they work. So remember, if it's got a steel rail like a railroad track on it, and it's going up and down a shaft, and it's on an angle, usually a skip car is riding up and down. But if it's like ours where they're cut at a 45-degree angle, and there is no steel rail, chances are they're using a skip bucket to hoist up and down. And that's what we use, and a lot of small mines do that. They're easy to make, it's cheap, it's effective, and they're easy to operate. And I'm going to show you how ours work, because I haven't seen any videos on YouTube of one of these skip buckets actually working. I've seen the skip cars dumping, but not the bucket. And I'm going to show you how that works here in a second as soon as I finish these rails. Now for those of you out there that don't know how mining works, the way that we communicate with the hoist operator that's sitting in the hoist house is through a series of bells. And they've been doing this for over 200 years. Every mine has their own particular hoist chart. And on that chart, it tells you what each individual signal means. So for us, 1 bell signal means emergency stop. 2 bell signals means up. 3 bell signals is down, and 4 bell signals is slow man on skip. So right now my wife's up in the hoist house and I need her to drop the skip bucket. So I come over here and I'm gonna ring her. So remember, 2 up, 3 down. Oh, there it comes. Oh, it's fully loaded too. See how that works? It's really simple, it's very effective, and they've been using it for over 100 years. So if there's any emergencies, we have two-way radio so we can communicate, but that doesn't always work because of the mineralization down here. It actually affects the performance of the radio. So, all right, now, what do we got in the bucket? Now you can see our skip bucket is loaded up with rail and ties, and this is what it's gonna take to go 5 feet. Now, if I needed to dump my mine car into this guy, he would drop down in the sump, and you guys all know that, most of you do. And we use this apron. This is the same way that all the other mines for the last 200 years have done it. Now, when you see these shaft sinking buckets, they're usually tapered and rounded, or some of them will have these ears on them, which are called trunnions. These are for the dump mechanism. I'm gonna show you how that works here in a second. Now, you can see how this skip bucket rides in these rails, and that's why they've got them cut at a 45, so that this bucket will slide right in between there. You see that? And we like to put a little apron on ours right here to keep it from spilling as it goes up. And this is called a bale right here. Now, some mines use a bucket that doesn't have trunnions on it, but it's shaped more like an egg. The way that those dump is they have a chain on the bottom of them, and as they go up, they don't use rails. They usually have some kind of planking that's all on the sets to keep it from hitting these timbers and snagging. And it just rides up, and when it gets to the top, there's usually some kind of a dump board up there. The chain will actually hook into it and it'll dump. And a lot of your large production mines, they work like that today. They have a chain on the bottom, it hooks, it dumps. It's really a simple process. But for us, we love using the skip buckets that have the trunnions on it, because for us, we have more control over the dumping. I know. Get on to showing us how it works, Jeff. I can hear it from here. Geez, you guys are impatient. All right, we're gonna head up the shaft to the top where the hoist house is. And then I'm gonna show you how that works. I tell you what, going up and down 40 feet of ladder every day about 100 times will give you a good leg workout. Oh man. Now when the skip bucket comes up, you'll see these two outer rails here which catch the trunnions, and we have those clad with metal. That way it doesn't wear down the wood. And these act as guides for the trunnions, so it pulls the bucket away from the rails. See that? At least the butt end of it is pulled away, and there's a reason for that. Now inside the hoist house where the chute is, there's a divider, and the divider can be swung left or right. And the reason why that's important is because we use that divider to say this is waste rock or this is going to be ran through the trommel. That's very important because you don't want to be wasting all this good pay dirt and put it in your waste rock pile. Now I got a nice juicy pay layer here that I'm sitting on top of. I'm going to go ahead and carve out the ribs here just a little bit more, and then we'll put that into the skip bucket. I'll flag it as being pay dirt, and that way my wife can mark it so it can be hauled into the wash plant. Now you guys got a choice. Yeah, I know. You're saying, Jeff, we don't have a choice. You're just going to play $6 million man. No, actually, you do have a choice. $6 million man or $6 million man or $6 million man. You know what you're getting. Now, on an interesting side note, a lot of people don't know this, but during the intro for the $6 Million Man, that was Bruce Peterson. And the aircraft he was flying was the predecessor to the space shuttle. It was using what's called a lifting body design. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Well, now you do. All right, back to digging, because I know you got to have that gold, and I got to have that gold. Not too shabby, huh? Nice, huh? Not a bad cut. I still have, what, maybe 3, 4 mine cars left to muck this out. But look how nice and juicy red it is. Ooh. For those of you out there that don't know, when miners go in after a blast and they need to remove all that material is referred to as muck, M-U-C-K. And a lot of times you'll hear miners say, oh yeah, we gotta muck it out, or we need a team of muckers. Well, now you understand, all this waste material is muck. And a shovel is referred to as a muck stick, okay? And they come in all different shapes and sizes. And most traditional miners use a square tip shovel, because it's a lot easier to muck with a square tip. Now keep in mind, back in the day, they would put down a piece of corrugated metal or a big piece of sheet metal right in front of the face, and they would blast. And when the blast went off, it was designed to kick all the material out onto that particular sheet. Well, the miners would refer to that as a muck sheet because they would muck off of it. And it's really easy to muck off of a piece of metal when you're using a square tip shovel. That's why whenever you see guys exploring mines, as they get closer to the working face, or what they say faces out, you'll see a big flat piece of metal laying up on its side, because that was where the miners would put it as they went to drill and advance. Now for us, we use a big piece of wood. We put that down on top of the tracks, and then we muck off the top of it. It makes mucking so much easier. Now I know most of you guys out there, you're like, Jeff, I've seen this a million times. Yeah, but there's a few people out there that haven't seen it, so maybe they want to know what it's like, and they'd like an explanation. So keep your pants on. Remember this? All right, we need that skip bucket down here, so remember, 1 stop, 2 up, 3 down. Yeah, look how nice and greased up those rails are, huh? Looks like it's ready for a ditty party. Oh yeah, there she is. All right. And then I'll ring this to stop it once it gets down and sits on that pedestal. We put the apron down like such. Get this monker over here. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Remember, Pull on the handle, unlatch, and then dump. Remember that? All right, here we go. And then you just close it back and it's locked in place. And the neat thing is it swivels too. So I can swivel it left or right and then lock it back. It's good to go. And then pull the apron up. If I can get this monker up like such. Ooh, he's full too. All right, and since this is our first load, there's our tally and 2 for up. And that is a full bucket right there. Look at that. And I got a couple headache makers in there too. You see that? Now you can see why we put that apron on the front. Nice. And it rides right up in between those rails. See that? Isn't that nice? Now I'm going to stand over here in case anything decides to fall off. Like that. And that's pretty much it. Wash, rinse, and repeat. And you do that about 1,000 times. Now, if you got questions about any of the processes we do down here, or mining in general, go ahead and leave me a comment down below, and we'll get back to you. That way you understand the whole process. But my big question is how many of you guys out there still got the lead in your pencil to come down here, huh? Oh, we ain't done yet. Oh, we're just getting warmed up. All right, now this stuff is slated to go through the wash plant, and the other stuff is just waste material. I know, all that to get to just that. Isn't that something? All right, now we're gonna run the metal detector over and see if there's anything stuck in that hard caliche bed, because that's usually where the big nuggets are. Yeah, it looks pretty clean, huh? Not too shabby. And there's our cemented caliche beds there on the bottom, so that's what we're gonna metal detect. Now, if you remember, my wife found a big monster nugget right here. I might even carve this out and take all that to run through a wash plant. Yep, there's one right there. You hear it? Nice. There's another one. Nice. My wife was right. Man, I have a feeling this thing's gonna pump out 5 ounces. I really do. See how this stuff's getting super, super red? And I've got multiple targets in the wall. That is fantastic. So what we normally do is we'll pull the targets first, and then we'll carve out a halo and give them away to our premium patrons. And because there's targets in the working face, we can't put track down yet. So that's gonna have to wait. So we're not gonna be able to lay track in here just yet. Not until we get everything out of the way and we're 100% sure there's no more gold. Because you don't want to put track on top of gold. Come on now, don't be foolish. But for the folks out there that have never seen us lay track in this mine, it looks something like this. All right, I got the sleepers all installed and we got our level. You can see we are right on the money. I'm gonna go ahead and fasten these in with a track gauge and then we'll backfill them. All right, first thing we're gonna do is put our fish plates together. See our fish plates right there? That's what locks one piece of track to another. These might be smaller, but they all do the same thing and they all look alike. Now remember what I told you about fish plates. Keep your nuts on the outside. Hey, maybe I should come up with a t-shirt that says, Trackmen keep their nuts on the outside. There's the sump. And of course, that's where that red worm, probably millions of them live, in that beautiful red clay. See how moist it is down there? And that drops down into a water table, which we believe drops into the aquifers that feed cocoa weave. And as you can see, it's starting to get choked out, and I got to clean that monker out. All right, here's a better look at the sump. You can see where I got a lot of material that sloughs over. Now I get a lot of guys saying, Jeff, is that worm real? Or are you making it up? Nope, it's real. Scared the pants off me. And I'm assuming there's a whole bunch more down here. And this is really soft. I mean, you could dig it with your fingers. And during the monsoon season, you can see the water come up when you start using a hammer drill. But it really freaks me out because I don't know how many there are down here, and they move really fast. And I don't know what the head of it looks like, and that's what's got me freaked out the most. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, Jeff, he's making that up about the worms. No, I'm not. In fact, we got video of one of them. Yeah, I bet you think twice about coming down here now and mining a full day, huh? Now, if you think you got what it takes to come down here, I'd like to hear. Go ahead and leave me a comment down below. So after we fish those nuggets out and run the wash plant, that is equal to 1 day. You think you can handle it? Nah, you're gonna sit on the couch eating chips getting fat. And for you new folks out there that haven't seen those monster nuggets coming out of here, they look something like this.
What is that?
So don't forget to get out there and wish your father a happy Father's Day. He's earned it, trust me, I know mine did. And if you're a father, happy Father's Day, you earned it. And get out there and make it a golden day. And I'll see you on the next video.